What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to Saturday night's late night agenda. How are we all doing? I hope we're all well. I hope that we're all healthy. I hope that the weather's good wherever you are, not too warm, because, you know, from our side of the world, from England, Ireland, the UK, all around there, you know, we like it warm, but we don't like it too warm. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's holiday warm, and then there's Ireland and the UK warm, which seems to be a different kind of warm, according to many of us. But, you know, we'll move on. We'll keep going. We'll soldier on, ladies and gentlemen. Right, where do you want to start tonight? Because there is loads of stuff to go through. We can talk about the Chiesa nonsense. We can talk about the situation with Georginio Wijnaldum. And look, on the Georginio Wijnaldum thing, I just recorded a 10 or 12 minute video on that article that will be going up fairly soon on the Anfield Agenda channel. It'll probably be up by the time this stream is over, so keep an eye out for that one, because I just shared my thoughts on it, and they were only that, my thoughts on the article. I don't ever claim to speak for anybody else. Craig is always late, but don't worry, he'll be here. I mean, to be fair, it was less than a minute today. That's pretty much on time for me, mate. You know what I mean? A minute late for Craig is on time. But yeah, always good to see you guys. How are we? Lovely to see you in the chat, and lots of smiles and happy people as well, which is great. Right, start with Genie, people are saying. Right, no problem. Well, I've had my say on Genie, so why don't you guys have your say on the article, and I'll read out the comments and speak through them, because, you know, as I said, I've taken 10-12 minutes and I've gotten all my points across in the video, so I don't want to hog the time on here, you know, double talking about the same thing. So just let me know what you guys think about the interview, the Henry Winter. If you're looking for it, it was a Henry Winter interview in the Times in the UK that Georginio Wijnaldum gave. And the headline of the entire thing is what really annoyed me more than anything. But the headline was, "I gave everything for Liverpool, but sometimes fans on social media did not make me feel loved. And then Georginio Wijnaldum was adored by all the club and played a key part in the success, so why did he leave?" And then, of course, the article goes on. Love Plug said, "Feel for Genie." I'm good, by the way. Tia M, thank you for asking. Very tired, very busy, couldn't sleep for a week. Carl, I had a similar week, mate. I was waiting on some medical results and was doing lots of bits and pieces, and like you, fella, I just couldn't sleep. But I tell you what, past couple of nights, mate, I've caught up on it. Frankie says, "Excuses for money." Well, again, Jamie Carragher spoke on this, and again, I touch on it in the video, but I will read it out because, you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys will have seen it. So Jamie Carragher had his say on the article. He said, "I love Genie." I think he echoes the feeling of a lot of us there. "But this is not right. Social media is a circus and every club has clowns." And look, again, I will absolutely agree. I've disagreed with Jamie on some things, and I'll agree with him on some others. And on the fact that every club has clowns, yeah, we all do. I mean, some people think I'm a clown, and I get that, but, you know, nobody ever wants to see hate on social media. But Jamie goes on, and he said, "Turn off your notifications, and if it's bothering you that much, delete the app." He wanted more money. The club said no. That's football. So Jamie Carragher's had his say on it, and again, I want to just see what you guys are feeling. So as I said, Frankie said, "Excuses for money." There is always fans who overdo it, but most fans love Genie. That's certainly how any fans that I interacted with, you know, would have felt towards Genie, mate. I agree. I mean, granted, I'm not somebody that looks too much on Twitter after a game, because I'm usually quite busy doing my other stuff, and look, I know Twitter can be a cesspool after games, and, you know, a lot of blame gets thrown around, a lot of emotional people. Not that I am making any excuses for critiquing. I'm fine with, by the way. You know, you played shit today, or I think you played shit today. I don't like tagging players, but if somebody said, "I think Trent had a crap game today," or that's part of being a fan, that's sound. But to say that you didn't feel loved by some sections of the fan base on social media, I just kind of wondered, does he think it'd be the same? Does he think when he's in PSG, that he'll never see anything negative said about him by, you know, PSG fans or Dutch fans or opposition fans? Or to say he didn't feel the love just wrangles a bit, doesn't it? Because, you know, you guys have watched my streams many, many times, I hope. Certainly the watch-alongs. I mean, there's nothing I love more than to whip out the Georginio Wijnaldum song and big the guy up. And, you know, again, I know I said I'm not going to share my views here, but sorry, it's still wrangling at me. I'm still annoyed that he left the club, but not because he left the club. My annoyance has always been that he was allowed to leave the club, that he wasn't given what he thought was acceptable or offered a contract that was fitting of somebody who would help us achieve the success. So I assumed, and again, that's my own assumption, that when Gini left, we were going to hear more from the point of view of the owners and how he wasn't being offered what he thought was fair. I never thought there'd be any type of a slight against the fan base. I don't get how people have the gut to be hateful because of someone's face. Yeah, look, if you're being a racist scumbag or, you know, anything like that, or you're xenophobic, of course, I've got no sympathy for any of those people, and nobody, I don't think Genie is even talking about racism here or anything like that, because we all abhor racism and we all absolutely deplore anyone who uses that type of rhetoric or language. There's no argument around that. But to say that there was a lot of, you know, sign the contract or leave, or it's all your fault, or you're not focused, I mean, if anything, from the people that, you know, were in our chat or that I've spoken to, we always felt that Genie gave everything, that he was always committed, that always reliable, always available for the manager. It just stings, this one, for me, anyway. Sevi Boy said he's a Liverpool legend, he's 30 years old, wanted more money for his future, hope he does well. And again, if that was true, and if that's the case, I'm sound about it as well. Football, I've always said it, footballers' careers are short. You know, this would have been the last big contract of his career, and if it was, the reason he moved on, because he thought he could get a better payday, sound. Say it. I mean, I think we'd all understand that. You know, footballers' careers are short, and moving around a few leagues, I'm sure, appeals to a lot of players. Look, Oxlade and Abbey are on more money than a guy hardly missed a game over 5 years. Excuse me. Yeah, and I don't disagree with you there either, mate. I mean, I think we're arguing against each other here to the point of we're looking at this from the wrong, in my eyes, the wrong perspective. I'm assuming that all of us agree that Genie was a model pro. I'm assuming that all of us agree he was always available for Kloppo. And I'm assuming that we all agree he was probably underpaid compared to other players of the same stature. So if we can work off the basis that we all agree on that, then I just don't see why it was necessary. I mean, if you're going to have a dig at anybody, surely it should be the owners who aren't valuing you at what you believe that you should be valued at. Because as fans, you know, we're here. Look, yes, we do. We look at transfer fees, we look at wages and stuff. But all in all, we only care about the results on the pitch, how the players are performing. And Genie's always been somebody who I think has been a solid, constant pro on that front. Hi Craig, when was it you challenged Rio to a 5k bet? Did he accept? It was probably a month ago, roughly, and no, he didn't. And look, I'm not arrogant enough to think he's seen it or that, and I'm just answering your question with an answer. Genie played better for his country because he was in a different position. Maybe he felt he would have done better in the same position as his country. And look, he does speak in the interview a little bit, Bernadette, about the game against Barcelona and his frustration perhaps at not being able to push a little bit more forward. And that's grand. That's football stuff. That's all sound. You know, if he thought he could have been used a little bit further forward again, that's absolute. Like, my only issue here is that why taint your very good relationship with Liverpool fans with an unnecessary negative? That's, I guess, where I'm going with this. Because the general consensus after he left seemed to be, why did he go? Why do we let him go? You know, I think that a lot of us were more disappointed in the club or the money men at the club than Genie. I mean, I've very, very rarely seen anybody have anything bad to say about Genie. Maybe I'm just lucky enough that my timeline on social media or on here is filled with people of, you know, a more accepting, wide-ranging, logical thinking set of people. I don't know. If that is the case, then I'm extremely fortunate. I wanted Wijnaldum at Barca, said Cave. Yeah, and Barca wanted him at Barca as well, but you know, he chose to work for Pochettino at PSG, which is sound. I've no issues with any of that. I've no issues with him moving on. I just, you know, that's just, again, this is, I want your opinions though. Craig, thoughts on QPR beating United? It's pre-season. I don't like, I never understand why people read too much into pre-season. I understand winning's a mentality. I understand you'll always want to win games, but, you know, if Liverpool are to lose games, I'd rather they be in pre-season than when the games kick off. And I said that, before our friendlies recently. For me, pre-season's about getting minutes in the legs, and as pre-season develops, you hope the sharpness returns, and you hope the understanding returns, and these relationships around the pitch get forged, and people get to know each other's play. I'm not a fan that's really too arsed around the results of pre-season friendlies, to be honest. I mean, it's only when the season kicks off that it matters to me. My goal in pre-season is always to hope that Liverpool's players leave the pitch without an injury. That's the first thing that I think about. Tafsir said, I believe Genie did good. He honoured his contract, kept his mouth shut and left with his head high. I don't disagree with a word you've written there, mate. Again, honoured his contract, which is all you can expect a footballer to do when they sign on. Same as if you sign an employment contract or whatever. You serve your time at a club, you're free to move on. Same with Emre Can, same with others before him. It's just, to me it just, I don't know, maybe I just feel a little bit hurt by Genie. Maybe unnecessarily, I don't know. Craig, some Liverpool fans said that we should let him go. And again, mate, I have absolutely no doubt that there is a section of Liverpool fans or football fans that had that viewpoint, yeah. I guess my point is, and like, I'm as guilty of this as anybody, we can't all only see positive stuff on social media all the time. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to only read positive stuff about me, and I'm sure you guys would only love to see positive stuff about you, there are always people who won't agree, and it's something that I've always struggled to do, to draw that line between social media and the real world. And, as Genie himself said, the fans inside the stadium always made him feel loved. And surely that's the most important part, that when he went out there on the pitch with the fans who were either fortunate enough to have tickets or had season tickets or made the trip to go to watch the game, they sung his name and loved him. So that's why I'm a little bit irked or a little bit confused by this, because, they are the ones that week in, week out see you play, and they've shown you support. I'm just a little bit, it's a bit of a downer, let's put it that way, even more of a downer than Genie leaving. Maybe he's just trying to make a break from LFC and focus on PSG. Perhaps, Liz, yeah. I mean, absolutely. He wants to make a good impression on this new club. He spoke very highly of Mauricio Pochettino. And look, I think highly of Pochettino as a manager as well. So I've got no issues with any of that. Let's move on. He's gone, said Love Plug. Yeah, okay, no problem. We will move on the conversation. Let's have a chat around this gentleman here then, shall we? Harry Wilson. So, I feel like I'm going from the divisive topic to another now, because I know that there is a decent chunk of Liverpool fans that believe Liverpool should have kept Harry Wilson. I wouldn't be in that camp. I've always been entirely honest to say that I don't think he's good enough to be consistently challenging for a place in Liverpool's starting 11, and if that's the case, I think it's best for him and for the club that he goes and plays regularly, because the footballer's career is short, and it looks like he's going to secure a 10 to 12 million pound move to Fulham, which I hope is a good move for him, and I hope Harry Wilson has a great career. So with regards to the price, I think it's a fair price. I mean, 10 to 12 million, for me, I'd be happy with that. Rabadan said, my favourite chips are Chiesa and Oniona. I see what you've done there, Rabadan. I'll get on to him in a while, mate, don't worry. I like what you've done there, though. I mean, getting getting cheese and onion into a conversation is always good with me. What have we got? Harry Wilson just seemed a bit weak, said Johns. Yeah, look, there's some people who'd say, but he's really good at set pieces. Yeah, he's alright at set pieces, but can you keep somebody just on the basis that they might score a free kick in 20% of one or two free kicks we get in and around the penalty area in a game? I would suggest no. And from what I've watched of him, and I will be the first one to admit that I'm far from the be-all and end-all, but, we all have our own opinions, I think this is the right call. I think it's the right call for the club to trim down the squad, bring in some money, and it's the right call for him to go and, make a career for himself and lay down some roots and, make a home. He'll be in Fulham for, 4 years or whatever, so we'll be able to settle down, know where he's going to be next year, the year after, and that's important to a footballer's rhythm and stuff as well. So, for me, I think it's good business all around. It's a few more quid in the door. So we've got the 12 million from him. The 11 million we'll be getting from Grujic. Then there's 8 million from Union Berlin for Teo Arioni. And then roughly 4.5 million brought in for Lee Miller and Camille Grabara. And that's before we start talking about Nat Phillips, who I'll get onto a little bit later in the stream, who has at least 3 or 4 suitors that are looking to potentially bring him in as a centre-back. So, good luck, Wilson. Never Liverpool quality, said Carl. Again, yeah. And look, I suppose you look at this, if you're Welsh as well, you look at this from the Welsh national team perspective, and you're going to want your boy out there playing football regularly, aren't you? So, you know, if Harry Wilson's going to be playing for Wales at internationals, which of course he will, then you're going to want them playing as much regular club football as possible. So I think this is the right move. I think it's a win-win all around. Same with Ryan Kent. I always found it really... I actually felt frustration for Ryan Kent because you could see he just wanted to play football, and you know, he just wanted to know if that was going to be at Liverpool or that was going to be elsewhere. And eventually he got his move to Rangers, and you could see just by being settled and by feeling a bit more, I don't want to say loved, but a bit settled is probably the right word, his performance has got better. And I think you'll probably see similar with Wilson, although I still don't think he'll get to the standard that we would require right now. Mr. Vlasic, thank you for the super chat, sir. Said Craig, surely with the 5 outgoings, there must be a new signing in the works. It's been quiet for weeks. Yes, I guess the short answer to that, mate, is yeah. I think you're absolutely splot. You're not splot. You're spot on. I think that was always going to be the case. So we knew we were going to be in it. I don't like to use the phrase sell to buy, but we're in a window where we were going to try and move on as many of the players who probably won't have much of an impact on the season ahead in the manager's mind and maybe in their mind. So as I said, we've moved on some. There'll probably be a few more to go. Yeah, I'm unsure as to what the situation is with Nico Williams. We heard when he was just finishing the Euros at Wales that there was a bit of talk maybe he might want to go and look for first team football elsewhere. You know, there's Nat Phillips we've spoken about as well. He could move on. And then, of course, there could be a surprise one or two others. So, yeah, I think you're right, mate. And I think we will see some incomings over the coming couple of weeks. I mean, we're only 3 weeks away from today for the Premier League kicking off. So, yes, I would expect some business to start going on the incoming route very soon. What else we got? Grealish accepts Man City's contract offer. Yeah, look, I don't believe that the issue will ever be with Grealish or Man City, or with Kane and Man City, or you know, with Varane and United. The issues are always going to be around the clubs agreeing fees. So, you know, that's usually the toughest part. I mean, I would say, yeah, I wouldn't say that the wages will be an issue there for Grealish. I think the fee to agree with Villa might be more the problem. Craig, what would your 7 on the bench be if we had 11 for it available? I mean, it depends on so many variables, buddy. It depends on who we're playing. It depends on how long players are back pre-season, how long they've, you know, come back from holidays. Did they go deep into internationals? Are they fully up to speed? Lads, is this money is used to cover the Canada money? Yeah, that's... I've seen a couple of people mention that, mate, that the sales of Wilson and Grujic and you know, doing some rough maths, and you know, it kind of equates to the money we paid for Ibrahima Kanade. And I'm like you on this one. I hope that isn't the case. I hope that in my head, and anyway, the Kanade stuff was making up for our failings last year, not sorting out a centre back. So to me, there's still 2 positions that need to be sorted out in this window, and it's a midfielder and an attacking wide player, and I hope that they're sorted out before the window closes. But yeah, I'm like you, mate. I'm very confused and frustrated. Like, let me pull up something, and again, I'm going to caveat this by saying I'm not sure how old this image is, so well, let's just use it as a rough guide, and I'm sure that there is some movement either way on it. So let's assume that this set of figures I'm going to give you now is at least 6 months old. So, and let's assume that they could be a little bit wrong as well. You know, I never try to lie to people and say everything that I say is factual like you all. I just try and gather information and talk about it. But here's the Premier League top 12 net spend since 2016. Now, again, please do keep in mind this could be 6 months old or so. So Manchester City topped the list with 561 million. Manchester United are second with 498 million. Arsenal third, 309 million. Chelsea, 262 million. Everton, 256 million. Aston Villa, 254 million. Wolves, 214 million. Spurs 204 million, Brighton 201 million, West Ham 171 million, and then in 12th place on this list is Liverpool with a net spend of 120 million. Now, there's two ways to look at net spend, always. You can look at it from the point of view of some clubs are just stupid with money and they just go out there and waste money and don't get enough money back in. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But what we know about Liverpool is that, if anything, we're really good with money. Michael Edwards has been fantastic with the sales that he's been able to generate and the money he's been able to bring into the club. And the success rate of the players that the recruitment team have brought in has been fairly high. So I guess, as a layman, my view would be, how is it that our net spend is half the size of Aston Villa, Everton, Chelsea, roughly Wolves, maybe a bit more than half of Wolves, and what, a quarter of the size of Manchester United's? That's what frustrates me, because I look at it as in, if those clubs can afford to spend this much money, and look, United are right up there with the highest earners in world football, but if those clubs can afford to spend that much money, and look, some of these clubs have owners that are wealthy that are feeding money, some of them don't. Some of them, you know, are finding different ways of funding things. So I just wonder, should that not encourage us to maybe trust the process a bit more and up the net spend, because we know that the recruitment is quite good? It just seems a little bit odd to me that our net spend is one of the lower when our success rate is really high. Now, I know about our wages, and I still can't get my head around the fact that we pay out so much in wages, but this just confuses the hell out of me. So, I mean, I've heard all types of different theories on this, ranging from the believable to the absolutely crazy, but, you know, I just don't know how we're constantly broke. I'm genuinely just confused by that. If somebody could clear that up for me in absolute terms, I would be wholeheartedly thankful, because I'm baffled as to how we're constantly piss poor, and it's always next summer. And look, you can tell me that we brought in Virgil van Dijk and we brought in Alisson, and I can say to you, you were absolutely spot on, and they were real money signings, but we also sold Felipe Coutinho. So, you know, be nice to have a window or two, or one window, where we get this refreshing of the team, and Klopp gets 3 or 4 new players in, you know, of a very good standard, and we get to go and compete again. Because our first 11's brilliant. Our first 11's up there with anybody's. I think most of us will agree on that. But where we've suffered in recent years has been the drop off from the first 11 to the backups, or to those that get rotated in for the domestic cup games or for the deemed easy Premier League games, and they aren't up to the mark. So yeah, I'd just like to see, and look, it's already been put out there that next summer, 2022, is going to be the summer where the overhaul is, but I don't believe that. And call me cynical, you know, call me a naysayer, but I don't believe it, because I heard this many times before, and it pisses me off. Would love to sign Bellingham. See, this is where I become a real hypocrite, because I actually do genuinely believe that there might be a chance of us signing Bellingham next summer. And that part of that is from the finances from our side, but another part is also from the side that I don't think Borussia Dortmund would sell him this summer. You know, they don't want to sell him this summer. And I think for him it's probably best to spend another season there. So, yeah, I'm a bit of a hypocrite on that front, because that might suit to wait till next year, if you get what I'm coming. And I'm aware of the hypocrisy in some of the stuff I say. I think as football fans we are all a little bit hypocritical. At least, you know, we should admit that we are. FSG declined furlough if they would get away with it. Yes, they would have, and they did, and it was reversed, and they put the ticket prices up, and it was reversed, and they joined the Super League, and it was reversed, and You wonder, mate, you know, could a lot of these things, Carl, have been avoided if perhaps they put the feelers out there to the Spirit of Shankly, or, you know, got the Anfield Rap to conduct a survey with their fan bases, because, you know, these guys have their fingers on the pulse of what's happening, what's living and breathing at Liverpool Football Club, and you would have very quickly got a fairly well-rounded view of what the response would have been to those scenarios. Craig Oilen, Russian money destroying our league. Look, while there is no real FFP, I suppose this is where we're at, isn't it? Now, you know, FSG did buy Liverpool, and they will admit this themselves, on the assumption that FFP was going to be enforced. And it looks like in its current format, it's unenforceable, so we have to find other ways to be competitive. But we were also always told that we would be able to compete with the Manchester Uniteds, with the Chelseas, with the Manchester Cities. And we have, to some extent. We've certainly, for a few seasons, we were right up there, and, you know, we won a European Cup and we won a Premier League title. But none of us want that to be a fleeting bit of success. We want to strengthen on the back of success. Chiesa news, no problem. I will happily, I mean, you're not going to be happy with what I have to say on this, but here we go. So apparently news out of Italy suggests that Liverpool have put in an £86 million bid for Federico Chiesa, and it is bullshit of the highest order, of the highest of almighty bullshit. This is right up there at the peak of Mount Bullshitterus Maximus. It is nonsense. You and I both know, ladies and gentlemen, that Liverpool aren't going to be lashing out £86 million on Chiesa or anybody else in this window. In fact, it would absolutely dwarf the club's transfer record, and I think if we lodged the bid, we may have heard a little bit more about it than a fleeting article in a publication coming out of Italy. It's almost as if, you know, call me cynical, that either a club or an agent are trying to big up a player and either get him an improved deal or attract a bit of interest in him to raise some money. Call me cynical, but there's absolutely not a chance in hell that Liverpool lodged an £86 million bid for Chiesa. Not one hope, not even a sliver, none, bullshit, it's nonsense. I'm sorry. And anybody who thinks otherwise is just, I don't know, just buying into the silliness, because, you know, look at the cold hard facts. If we had this much money to throw around, you know, just think what we could do with that. There's just no way that we're going to spend 86 million. He's a good player. He's a very good player. I'm not knocking the lad as a player, but I have him at Liverpool, yes, in a heartbeat. But I also know that we're not spending the guts of €100 million. Like Kylian Mbappe money for Chiesa, who moved from Fiorentina, son of a Fiorentina legend, I believe, to Juventus, and had a very good Euros. But come on, folks. I mean, I think you'll agree with me on that. This is just shite. It's just a waste of everyone's time, and I'm quite frankly embarrassed from a journalist perspective that somebody put this out there and ran with it, because it's clear as day, it's nonsense. Chiesa would be fired even if it's not true. Yeah, look, he's a good player. I mean, I think lots of us are on board here with the fact that he's a good player. Is he an £86 million player? I would have my doubts about that, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think he's proven enough yet to value himself at that, or to be, not that he's valuing himself, to be valued at such a high amount. It's a bit of a comment with a difference, and I love to see it. 1975 Jamrock, that is a class name, mate, by the way. A false narrative that we are a sell to buy club. Bring up Liverpool, all transfers on transfer market, and it will change your mind. People don't read. I absolutely do read, mate. And as I said, I don't think I've said we're a sell to buy club. I don't think, if I have uttered those words, I'm absolutely open to be corrected. Have I said that it looks like it could be a sell to buy window? Yes, because that's what's been put out there by the media. And by the media, I mean, I'm sure that's what they've been briefed to put out there. So I appreciate where you're coming from, mate. And I do try and read as much as I can. I try and find out as much information about as many subjects as I can before I speak about them. Sometimes I have time, sometimes I don't. But, you know, as you said, have a look on transfer market. And but that also isn't the be all and end all, mate, because whatever way we look at it, as I said, you can look at net spend in a few ways. You can look at net spend from the point of view of, you know, some clubs are just shit at selling players and some clubs are better. Clubs like Chelsea might have a lot of players out on loan around Europe and, help fund transfers by, getting those players some experience and moving them on. So there are all different ways of approaching this. Some other clubs have feeder clubs and use those clubs to get players experience and bring them back in. If it doesn't work out, then they sell them. That's the joys of it. But I think what is indisputable is the fact that at a point where we're coming off a very frustrating season where, yes, there's been an impact of COVID, it seems like, as of right now, we're not really doing much business. And we're told that it's because of the impact that COVID has had. But were we not also told that the 11% of the club that was sold to Jerry Cardinal and his group for £536 million was, some of that was to help ease the burden of the impact of COVID and the pandemic. So I'm not completely anti the owners, nor am I for the owners. I see good points and bad points in everything, and that's why I appreciate your comment, mate, and I'm spending so long on it, is because I genuinely believe you've some validity to what you're saying. But I don't think the truth is at one end of the spectrum or the other. I think the truth is always, somewhere in the middle. But again, thank you for taking the time, mate, and spending the money to put the comment in. I appreciate it. Didn't Chiesa's bid of, or didn't Chelsea's bid of 100 mil get declined? For who? John, sorry, mate, I'm confused at who that is. Mate, Michael Edwards could get Messi and Ronaldo for that money. Yeah, he is a bit of a genius, isn't he, to be fair. We're very fortunate to have him at the club doing what he does. It'd be nicer if he was able to do a bit more. Thought you would say that the 86 million quid was bull. I thought so too, said Walter Bishop. I mean, yeah, of all the things, this was one of the easiest ones for me to just flatly call out as nonsense. Awar to LFC, said Aidan. Do you know, on Awar, I don't know, mate. It was reported by Julien Laurent, who, as I said, I've got the height of respect for. Very, very prominent French journalist and somebody who certainly knows European football and French football very well. And if anything, when he said Liverpool were interested in Houssem Aouar, I actually got a little bit excited about it, because at the price tags that were being mentioned there, 20 million there or thereabouts, a few quid either way, I think it would be excellent business for us or for any club to get him at that price. So I hope there's some truth to it, and I think that at that price, and him being 23 years of age, I think it'd be a fantastic piece of business. It said the £86 million bid has been rejected. Well, that's what I mean, James. That's kind of my whole point, mate, is if the bid was put in and was rejected, I think it might be a bit more widely reported by the likes of a James Pearce, a Melissa Reddy, a Paul Joyce, anybody of the local beat who the club would, have a fairly open relationship with regards to certain things, obviously not everything. So the fact that it was coming from Italy makes me think it's a one-sided debate. Let me just put it that way. Craig, what do you think Mbappe will do? Just curious in your opinion. One of two things. He'll either sign on in a short-term extension of PSG, or he'll end up at Real Madrid. That's what I think will happen. Because for some reason, and I don't know why, the likes of the clubs that may be able to afford him, so let's say a Manchester City or a Chelsea, clubs that would have owners that have sanctioned such big money transfers in the past, perhaps, or could fund the wages. I'm intrigued as to why nobody seems to be in for the kid, especially in a window where, he's got 1 year left on his contract. I'm sure he gets a very, very big wage, but so do a lot of players these days. I'm a bit baffled as to why there's not a queue of people trying to get the lad in. So I think, long story short, it's no secret Madrid want him. Madrid fans are convinced he's going to be there, but then again, from what I've seen of some of the Real Madrid fans, I'll say this, when Eden Hazard was unveiled, I remember reading and seeing plaques that said, we want Mbappe. You've just signed Eden Hazard. I think he was 100 million quid at the time. He was there at his unveiling. He was doing his keepy uppies and the usual stuff you do, and there was a placard being held up proudly aloft in the Bernabeu saying, we want Mbappe. So, yeah. Yeah. I heard Varane is going to United. Probably the case, yes. It seems like he's trying to be respectful of Real Madrid. If Real Madrid and United can agree a fee, I don't see it being too much, from what I've read, of an issue for him to be open to coming to the Premier League and joining United. Physics said, Aouar or Barella? Well, only one of those names is realistic, and that would be Houssam Aouar. Nicolo Barella would be, at the very top of my wish list. But Inter Milan have let it be known that he's not for sale, or that it would take maybe an unholy amount of money. Again, just an amount of money we ain't going to pay to get him. But, of them two, in an ideal world, Barella. But who do I think is more realistic? Houssam Aouar. News on Tielemans. There is no new news that I'm aware of on Tielemans, except that he's mulling over a contract offer from Leicester City. I don't even know if he's back training or if he's still on his holidays after the Euros. But that's it. That's all I know. The club seem to be interested. From what I've read, he wouldn't be against the move. But again, reading these things and it being the truth are often different. Carl, wow, sorry. How did I not see that 50 quid super chat, mate? But again, thank you very much, mate, it's actually a super sticker. What does it say? It's a little dude on a rocket. Nice one. Thank you, Carl. You're very kind, mate. I hope you and Julia are well. You're very, very kind, by the way. Sorry. So, there's this new other thing as well that Connor was telling me about where it's like a super chat that you can leave after streams or on pre-recorded streams. I'm sure somebody will be able to tell me about this because I haven't got a clue what it is. Even when he said it to me, I got a bit confused by it because I'm such a boomer when it comes to stuff like this. 1975 Jamrock again back in. How are you, mate? Said club tells journalists what they want reported. I don't disagree with you on that whatsoever. Not what is actually happening, and that is the big difference. I block out all the journalist noise every year. And you're probably right to do so, mate, to be honest with you, because I get dragged into it from two perspectives. One, obviously I need talking points for the channel, and we need to, my way of doing it is not to say that I know X or Y. What I try to do is bring together the articles, put 5 or 6 of them into an ideas pot and throw them out there and see what the viewers think, what I think, and see if we can come to a consensus. So like you, mate, ideally I would like to just block out all the noise, and just wait for things to happen. And I do believe stuff will happen. I do think we'll get a couple of players over the line. But you're spot on. I don't disagree with what you said there at all. And thank you for taking the time again. Jeremy Doku, again, I'll be honest and say nothing new that I've seen on Doku. There's one or two more. Oh, yes, before we leave, I want to talk about this gentleman here, Pedro Neto. So, we all know Pedro Neto's injured, and he was injured, I think, if my memory's right, 3 or 4 months ago, I think. But we did reach out to Dave Azzopardi, who is a Wolves fan and somebody who I'll be having a chat with around some of our interest in Wolves players earlier on next week. So keep an eye out for that video. He'll give us an insight into more on when Neves might be back, if he's heard of interest from Liverpool from an outside perspective. And he's a really good guy and a really knowledgeable guy, and another great up-and-coming YouTube channel. So let me just spend a couple of minutes talking about Pedro Neto, because I genuinely believe we have an interest in this guy. But from speaking to Dave seems to think that his projected time to come back is September, October. So I guess what I'm wondering is, would we be willing to take a chance on the player who's still working his way back from a fairly long-term injury, knowing that he probably wouldn't be ready until, let's say, November. Let's work off the assumption that, he comes back in October, gets up to fitness, all this stuff, November. I don't know, is the honest answer. I'd like to think yes, because I really do want Pedro Neto, and I really do like Pedro Neto as a player, and he's got a little bit of, I think someone in the chat described it as the X factor the other night, which I thought was absolutely spot on. Sometimes you just see something in a fella and you think, I could see him in a Liverpool shirt, I could see him in our system. And he seems like a very intelligent footballer to me. And I don't doubt that there will be a lot of top clubs around Europe that are looking at Pedro Neto. And, you know, I've said to you guys that Wolves are open to potentially moving on some of their stars this summer. From what I'm aware, Ruben Neves and perhaps Adama Traore could be two of those names. I don't know where they stand on Neto, but I do know that he's somebody that we've looked at for a while, and there's been some good pieces written on this by Andrew Beasley and a few others who, you know, speak about why we're interested in him far better than I could ever express it. So I guess, yeah, my question is kind of what Diogo has put into the chat there, is how would he pass his medical? See, you know, that's not a question that I know, mate, because I don't know how well his leg is at this moment in time, or if there are ways of knowing that it's healing and he would be okay if he passed every other part of the medical, as an example. So yeah, it's I don't know the answer to that question, which is kind of why I brought the subject up, because I want to know how you guys think and feel about it. Someone said Wolves are a dead club now. I mean, I think it's very, I don't know if they are or aren't, to be fair. I mean, I've always have time for Wolves as a club. This time of the year I don't get a lot of time to watch live, so I wanted to show my support for the channel, and don't forget you all rock. Thank you, Carl, and I know what a busy time it is for yourself and Julie, mate, in the industry that you're in at this time of the year, and particularly, you know, at a time where people are just returning to going on trips and stuff. So very kind of you, much appreciated as always. And when we do eventually cross paths, the first round is, well, probably the first few rounds at this point will certainly be on me. Our friend is back, 1975 Jamrock. I just like saying your name, mate. Jamrock is just deadly. LFC paid out 200 million in wage bonuses on top of weekly wages. Don't be surprised some of our players are making 500k a week with bonuses. We pay a lot. Now see, that's interesting to me, because again, I know we do give incentivised contracts, and I know it's been put out there that our wage bill is in around 320 to 350 million. So what you're saying there, mate, again, makes sense. Now, of course, we won't get to see, as fans, these clauses in contracts, and nor should we be able to. But it makes sense what you're saying there, and I asked earlier on for somebody to perhaps help and explain to me why the numbers that we're seeing and the numbers that are being put out there, you know, might make sense. And what you've said certainly explains a good chunk of it. Yeah, we definitely do have players on 20, 30 grand goal bonuses or Champions League achievement bonuses and all this type of stuff. So I feel like we're agreeing on a lot of stuff here, mate, and maybe, I don't know if our wires are crossed and you think I'm disagreeing, or maybe I'm coming across in a way that you think is, I should be explaining it differently. But either way, I'd like to think we're on the same page, actually. But thank you again for taking the time. Any Saul news? No, there's not really. It's a slow day, and sometimes slow is good. Sometimes not hearing anything is a good sign, because something comes out of nowhere then, and Liverpool announce a couple of signings, and then we're all sitting back excited, looking ahead to when we'll get to see these guys put on the shirt and play their first pre-season game or anything like that. So yeah, didn't Mo make 27 million last season, over 500k a week in bonuses? If so, again, like our friend said a moment ago, there are definitely a lot of bonuses in the contracts, and I think, you know, it's a clever way of doing it by our owners, because, you know, the better you do, well, the club's going to be rewarded more financially, and hence then the players get rewarded more financially. So all of that makes sense. Perhaps my own naivety didn't think that these clauses may add up that high. Like, I thought, okay, Mo's on, let's say, a base rate of 200 grand a week. Me and my mere mortal stance might have believed that, okay, let's think he might get 100 grand in bonuses, or even 150 grand in bonuses. But I didn't dare think that maybe they go up to 400 or 500 grand a week. But then again, in saying that, I've also said I don't understand why players would stay if they look around elsewhere and see that De Gea is on 350 a week, or somebody at another club's on 400 grand a week, or Griezmann's on 500 grand a week, or whatever he's on. So I knew there must have been a reason, because it couldn't just be, oh, we love the club, because as much as we like hearing that as fans, you know, they are athletes, they are professionals, they do deserve to be paid the market rate. So maybe I'm just a little bit surprised that the bonuses could be that high. So yeah, I mean, that would certainly explain a lot. What have we got? Hi Craig, I've only joined. Has there been any contract extensions in the team? Nope. It looks like Salah, Van Dijk, Henderson. No, excuse me. Salah, Van Dijk, Fabinho, and Alisson are the most likely 4 to be announced. Henderson, he's training in Mallorca at the minute. It looks like, using their facilities, even on his holidays, which just shows how, how and why we all love the man so much. So yeah, hopefully he'll get sorted out, because I do understand that giving a 31-year-old a 4-year contract to 35 could be risky. So I would hope that the club and Henderson could reach some type of compromise where maybe they give him 2 years that he already has with an option of another, but with a pay increase or something. I don't know. I just hope he stays, because I don't want Hendo to leave. You are a sexy man, Craig. Baboosh, my man's back. How are you, buddy? Would I take Barella over Bellingham? No, I wouldn't. And this is purely just my pig-headed and blindedness. I'm not for 1 minute saying here that one is going to be better than the other. But what I will say is, I think that Bellingham would be better for Liverpool, because, I think he'd relished the love from the Kop and inside Anfield, and I think he'd blossom into an absolute... He's already going to blossom into a superstar. He's going to be a superstar. I just think you get that vibe about potential Liverpool players. He's the one that I could absolutely see being, I don't want to say the new Steven Gerrard, but somebody who could come in and be the future of our midfield with Curtis Jones, or with maybe Elliott and a few others in years to come. Tom Hutch, how are you, mate? Said, hi Craig, would you rather have Chiesa and Barella or Mbappe and Haaland? And would you rather have Mbappe or Haaland? I'd rather have Haaland and Mbappe, obviously. Of the two, which one would I rather have? For Liverpool, Mbappe, because I think he would suit... Look, they both do well in our system, but I'm a sucker for a wide, pacey, direct running player. So for me, Mbappe, but, am I upset if either of them ever ended up at Liverpool? No, of course not. But yeah, of the two suggestions you've said, Mbappe and Haaland, and then Mbappe is a singular. Do I think Calvin Phillips is overhyped? No, I think Calvin Phillips is a very, very good footballer, and I think, when I seen the mention of Calvin Phillips maybe being a long-term Jordan Henderson replacement at Liverpool, I could see it. I'm not saying it will or won't happen, but no, I don't think he's overrated at all. I think he has worked very, very hard to prove what a good footballer he is, and Leeds have themselves a wonderful, wonderful talent in Calvin Phillips, and yeah, whatever does happen in his career, I think his career will continue to go from strength to strength. I think Curtis Jones is our Genie replacement. In my head, and again, I'm only talking about my head, I viewed him last year as being the Lallana replacement in the squad. I'm not saying they were like for like player, but usually when we see Curtis Jones, he's coming in off that left-hand side for Liverpool. And I thought that he would take the squad place of Adam Lallana. So for Genie going, I think we still need to fill that space. That's just my 2 cents on that situation. Connor sent me a message on WhatsApp. Did he? Okie dokie. 1 second. Right, so here's something, I think, again, going back to what our friend said a few minutes ago about bonuses and stuff, and apparently this is from 2018 and it was around Firmino. I think it was widely reported at the time. So Firmino has earned 1,015,000 from goal bonuses so far in that particular season. 1 to 5 goals, apparently he got 25 grand a goal scored. 6 to 10 goals, 45 grand a goal scored. 11 to 15 goals, 65 grand a goal scored. 16 plus goals, 85 grand per goal scored. So, in this type of scenario, I can see what that gentleman, Jamrock, was talking about a few minutes ago, where the money adds up very quickly. Am I nervous about Man United next season? I'm nervous about all the top four next season, mate, because I think I'm nervous and excited at the same time because I think that it's going to be one hell of a race. I think we're in for a fantastic Premier League season ahead. Chelsea going to be strong, United going to be stronger. I think Liverpool, even regardless of signings, will be stronger with the crowd back inside Anfield and, Van Dijk and Gomez and getting our players back. Add in, hopefully, a couple more signings on top of Canade. You've got Manchester City who, will probably, not that you can ever just make a push for the Champions League, but it's clear that the signings of the likes of Harry Kane and stuff is going to be aimed at trying to win that. So yeah, it's going to be mental, and I'm looking forward to it. And we're only 3 weeks away now, so there you go. Yeah, I'm excited. Craig is bald and beautiful. He's a better Zidane. Well, a far smaller but bigger bellied Zidane with far less ability in any sense of the word. But I'll take it. I'll take it, Tom Hutch. Thank you. Who would I take between Barnes and Doku? Harvey Barnes in that scenario, Tobias. Because he's somebody who, again, I put him in the exact same camp as Pedro Neto. Somebody who Liverpool have been keeping an eye on for a while, but I don't think the plan would have been to make a move this summer if they made a move. And I really rate Harvey Barnes, and I think Harvey Barnes in a Jurgen Klopp system would be perfect. And again, the bonus again there would be he'd be a homegrown player, so you'd have that overseas place in the squad. But I also really like Jeremy Doku. But one, to me, it would be ready to come right in straight away and play for Liverpool, and the other is a very good player but may take a little bit longer to settle because of age, moving to a new league and various other reasons. So Harvey Barnes. But again, give me either of them and I'm very happy. RSH14 said that's crazy. The season's 3 weeks away. Yeah, it's coming around quickly, isn't it? Live and Adventure said Minamino, Origi and Shaqiri will still be at Liverpool and Shaqiri will play more in midfield. Minamino could well be at Liverpool. Origi, I believe, will move on. And Shaqiri, again, I would put in the boat of I believe will move on. Because at 29 years of age, he's looking at a situation where he's probably going to have limited opportunities in the first team. And on top of that, I'd add to the fact that he's had a lot of muscle strains and stuff that have really stopped him getting into a rhythm. And I can't say what that's because I just don't know. So my opinion on that would be Minamino may well stay, but the other two, I think if the club got acceptable offers for, like Wilson and others and Grujic and that, we'd move them on. That's my take on the situation, but I'm not saying you're right or wrong. Craig, have you been frustrated with Liverpool's business this summer? To some extent, yes. To some extent, no. Getting Canade in early doors was brilliant. Moving on some players who weren't in the manager's plans and getting transfer fees for them, very good. Happy about that. You always want to see the club getting as much money as they can for players that, don't seemingly have a future and maybe want to move on. So that side of it sound. I suppose the worry comes in that we're 3 weeks away from the league starting and we still haven't got an attacking player and a midfielder. But if you could promise me that those two positions would be addressed before the window closes and maybe we move on a couple of more of the fringe players, I'm going to say it's a fairly positive window, because I look at a transfer window like this. Did we end the window stronger as a squad than when we started the window? And I think if we add those two players and don't lose any of our first teamers, I would say, yeah, we've ended the window more strongly than when we started it. So that's the way I look at a transfer window. Can you do a table prediction? I will certainly do that, mate, over the next week or two. Just want to see when the transfer business is done, by the way. And I actually picked my FPL team last night. The team that's going to massively underachieve and let me down again this season, because I am absolutely awful at FPL. Every season I go, loads of confidence, going to give it my best shot, and every season I fall flat in my face. Have we signed that Newcastle kid, Clark? Not yet, but very, very close. I mean, I was trying to read up more on this today. I think he's the son of Lee Clark, former Newcastle player, and yeah, it looks like he's going to come in. But I think Newcastle are making a bit of a last-ditch attempt to maybe offer him something to stay, but I believe so. But I don't think it's done yet. But if it isn't done, people seem to be of the belief that it will be done. Where do I think Arsenal will finish? 6th to 8th, somewhere in that bracket. Who's more realistic next summer, Mbappe or Lautaro? Probably neither, being realistic. I don't know. I actually don't know if we're looking or monitoring or have any interest in Lautaro Martinez. I genuinely haven't got a clue. But I would say both of them would probably end up in Spain. I know, if Barca can sort the finances out in the coming year or two, I think he and them have always looked at Lautaro Martinez as a potential arrival at the new camp. Who do they pick in your fantasy? We can call it out to you now. I mean, you can tell me how shit it is. So as goalkeepers, I went for Kasper Schmeichel and Foster. Then for my 5 defenders, I went for Luke Shaw, Aaron Cresswell, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Matty Cash and Tariq Lamptey. In midfield, I went for Sancho, Mason Mount. I rolled the dice on Naby Keita. He sucked me in with that game yesterday, and I'm gonna wait till the pre-season finishes. But right now, at the price point, at 5 million, I couldn't say no to Naby Keita. Mohamed Salah, Saka from Arsenal, then Watkins from Villa, Tony from Brentford, and Bamford from Leeds. That's my FPL squad, which I'm sure is shite, but there again, I'm the eternal optimist that gives it a bash. How do I think Liverpool will do against... Who's this? I don't know what you're saying. Atleti there, but I don't know who you mean. Do you mean Bilbao, or I'm really confused by that one, mate. Sorry. Do you hope Liverpool take the FA Cup more seriously? Yes, that's the whole point, Carl, of why I want Liverpool's squad to be stronger, because I want us to be able to challenge. I want our players to leave the time at the club and finish up, and I want Klopp to finish up with as many medals and trophies as possible. So yeah, I want us to win everything, every season. I'm that greedy. Craig, your FPL is clown. Fair enough. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit it. I mean, I'm sure I'll do shite as always, mate, but I think it looks alright. Shaw, Cresswell, Trent, Matty Cash and Lamptey as defenders, all fairly attack-minded, so I'm happy enough with that. Sancho, Mason Mount, Mohamed Salah, Saka and Keita, they're alright. I only plan on playing with one striker anyway, so Watkins, Tony and Bamford. I think I'll be alright. Foster doesn't even start, yes, which is why he's on my bench, mate. On my bench, because he's the cheapest I could get and I'll never play him. Hence why he's on my bench. So, I don't like to swap my keeper around. I'm not somebody that buys 2 keepers that are going to be swapped around week in and week out. I just go for one that I think is good and just throw the cheapest, shitest backup keeper I can get. So, yes, I don't believe Foster will play, but nor do I believe I'll be putting him into my team at any point. Do I think Harvey will play up top or in midfield? Midfield. I think it looks like he's getting a nice little understanding with Salah on the right hand side. So yeah, I've been excited by that little link up that I've seen. Which midfielder do you think will sign this summer? I honestly don't know, mate. I mean, if I was guessing right now, Saul or Renato Sanchez, but that's just me guessing right now. Can you do a walkthrough video of your fantasy squad? Yeah, I can certainly make that over the coming days, mate. No problem. I'm sure I'll change it 20 times between now and the start of the season, but in your opinion, who is the greatest goalkeeper ever? Well, I mean, I can only speak about in my lifetime because obviously, there was keepers that were brilliant before I was born, but in my lifetime, probably Buffon. I'd probably say Gigi Buffon. He's certainly the person that I would hold in the highest esteem. Yeah, I'd go Buffon for me. But, there's been some keepers that I've admired over the years that some people probably won't be old enough to remember, like Antonio Zubizarreta and players like that. So, but yeah, for me, off the top of my head, Gigi Buffon probably. Any chance for Neto joining? I hope so. I just don't know if it'll be in this window or in the future. Who do you think Liverpool should sign for a winger? I I like Neto, as we spoke about. I like Harvey Barnes, as we spoke about. I like Jeremy Doku. Just trying to think across other Premier League clubs. I don't see many realistic options. Ikone from Lille, it's gone quiet around him, full stop. I'm sure there are players that I don't know about as well who you guys could perhaps. Ansu Fati, I just don't think Barcelona will want to lose. I know they're in a financial crisis, but I think they'll try to move on the older, higher earning players than the younger, lower earning players who perhaps have a future, if that makes any sense. At the same time as, throwing a load of new money at Messi. KESSIE news. There is, to me, that's another non-story. I think Frank KESSIE is 1 year. Let me just get Neto off the screen for a sec because he's distracting me. So Frank KESSIE has 1 year left on his AC Milan contract, and AC Milan have got back into the Champions League after a few years away, and KESSIE has been an integral part of that because he's a big player at Milan, and I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll stay for the upcoming season or sign the new deal and stay with AC Milan. So to me, I don't think it's a runner of a story whatsoever. I think it's more a case of 1 year to go. Let's see if we can either get him a move somewhere from his agent's perspective, or get Milan to come back to the table and offer the fella what he believes or his agent believes he's worth. So to me, I think he'll stay put where he is. See, Hendo was training in a Spanish club. Yep, he was away at Mallorca, who, interestingly enough, actually Daniel Sturridge is on trial with at the minute, or training with at the minute. What else have we got? Just feel Minamino isn't suited to our gameplay, plus the league is too physical for him unless he chooses to bulk up. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, we loaned him to Southampton at the end of last season when I thought we probably could have done with keeping him around as an option, but then again, I'm not privy to what Kloppo sees on the training ground every day, so it'll be interesting. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with Taki this season, whether we keep him or he gets loaned out or sold. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go off and watch the boxing, so I will chat to you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, it's pinned to the top of the live chat right there now. My thoughts on the whole Georginio Wijnaldum contract situation, Georginio Wijnaldum's reasoning for leaving the club. I recorded that just before this stream. You can go and watch that now. The link is at the top of the live chat. And I will see you guys tomorrow. So thank you very much for your time as always. Take care. Lots of love.